ហើយរាត្រីនេះវាគ្មិនរបស់យើងគឺលោក Bradley James Gordon លោកតំណាងស្របច្បាប់ជាមេធាវីរបស់អង្គការសវណ្ណកុមារលោកនឹងចូលរួមពិភាក្សានៅលើប្រធានបទស្ដីអំពីតើកត្តាចម្បងអ្វីខ្លះដែលនាំឲ្យមានភាពចម្រូងចម្រាសក្នុងអង្គការសវណ្ណកុមារដោះស្រាយមិនចេះចប់នេះបាទហើយយើងសូមជម្រាបមិត្តស្ដាប់នឹងទស្សនាកម្មវិធីយើងផងដែរថាការពិភាក្សារយៈពេល20ឬ25នាទីឬ30នាទីទៅខាងមុខគឺជាភាសាអង់គ្លេសហើយដូចសប្តាហ៍ដែលយើងខ្ញុំបានជួបនឹងវាគ្មិននិយាយភាសាបរទេសនោះគឺថាយើងព្យាយាមនឹងបកប្រែជូនមិត្តអ្នកស្ដាប់ខ្លះនៅចុងក្រោយនៃកម្មវិធីជាភាសាខ្មែរបាទជាបឋមយើងខ្ញុំសូមស្វាគមន៍លោក Bradley James Gordon good evening attorney Gordon
ជំរាបសួរ
បាទជំរាបសួរបាទសូមជំរាបសួរពីចម្ងាយបាទit's a pleasure to have you on our program today thank you very much for making time for our program and it's the first time I got a chance to talk with you. As legal representative for the Johnson Family Foundation, you have explored several legal venues to find a solution to the dispute involving Sawan Komar Orphanage Center. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It's an orphanage center, right?
Yes, I can. Maybe I just give you a little bit of background.
I'll let you say that after, right? And okay. And the problem arose from the involving officials from the first management team. When you first granted an interview for our report, you gave us information about your effort, to solve the problem, including meeting with the Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation, Mozavi, and the Department of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation, DOSAVI, a letter to Prime Minister Hun Sen asking him to intervene in the case. You have answered most of the question we asked you, but I just want to clarify some other points in your written replies. I should note that according to civil society organization reports, land grabs and expropriations occur in many areas in Cambodia. Let me begin with this question and you can give us some background. You indicated that, and I quote, submitted in October 2019 to a request to correct the name on our MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. What name or whose name were you trying to have it corrected? Is Sawan Komar wholly funded by Johnson Family Foundation?
Yes, the Johnson family have been the major donors since 2003 when it was set up by Elizabeth Johnson. Yeah. She came here and her original vision was to create an environment for abandoned and orphaned children that would provide a safe, nurturing home for these kids to develop them intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. Yeah. She had a really great vision when she came to Cambodia, and she entrusted the project with the former executive director. They put in place an MOU, and the MOU that the executive director signed with the ministry was actually under the wrong name. It was under Sawan Komar Cambodia. And we suspect now that what he was trying to do was make it a local NGO instead of an international NGO. It was signed off by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so technically it is an international NGO. But what he had also done is he let the MOU lapse in a couple of years ago in 2017, and he didn't get it renewed. So when we came on the scene, my firm was hired in 2018 to do basically an audit of Sawan Komar with many experts coming in, and we ended up finding horrendous child abuse and fraud. And when we looked at the MOU, we saw that it was under the wrong name and it had expired. So we asked Mozavi in October 2019 to renew it. We didn't hear from them until just a couple months ago. And what they did is they came back to us eventually and they said, well, they've set up a committee to resolve issues at Sawan Komar. And we saw all kinds of unusual activity by this committee, and they used a number of international organizations such as UNICEF and Save the Children to cover what we perceive to be basically a land grab.
Okay. Let me get back a little bit to what you just said. You said somebody in Cambodia in charge of the project registered the name of the organization instead of an international NGO. It registered as supposedly
he
to be...
registers international NGO, but he used the wrong name. He used Sovan Kumar Cambodia. She became very sick about 10 years ago, and she sadly passed away in 2017. So I'm not sure if she was aware of it, but it came to our attention when we were doing due diligence and looking at Sovan Kumar, and then we said, why is this? Why did the former executive director register this name? It doesn't make any sense. And we went to Mosavi, and they indicated to us that they were ordered by the former director's management team to use that name. So it was the wrong name, and then the MOU had also expired.
Okay. That leads to my second question. You mentioned, and I quote again, a prosecutor charged Mr. Sothir Arun with fraud, and this case is now with the investigating judge. And the accused is awaiting trial. Are you saying that an official from the Mosavi tries to intervene in the judicial process at first?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they've taken many inappropriate actions. I mean, I had a very positive meeting with them today.
Okay.
And, it looks like they are changing their position, and they're going to renew our MOU next week. So things have changed quite a bit over the last week or so in terms of their position with respect to Sovan Kumar. But, they're... in August 2019, I was called into a meeting with the lawyer for a well-known general here and a number of Mosavi officials who we saw that they were clearly trying to take the land when we had dismissed the former executive director. So we went to the anti-corruption unit and made a complaint about the Mosavi officials. And they of course, have not been very happy about that. And the ACU has called in a number of officials for questioning.
I'm glad that, the situation has changed and people came to meet with you. Did you meet the same person you had an issue with before? Mr. Tuchani?
Yeah. So, he's been in the background for a while, but several months ago, a different Secretary of State approached us and said that he was setting up this committee. He became the committee chairperson, and then he was no longer there. We're not sure why, but he was no longer the chairman. Instead, His Excellency Touch Chani became the chairman of that committee. And we were very surprised a couple of weeks ago to be called into a meeting and to find out that they were recommending to fire our management team, the management team of an international NGO,
right?
Or to close the NGO. So it was rather shocking that they had this meeting on Christmas Day that we were not invited to. And then we do have the minutes from that meeting, and we've provided your team with a commentary that just shows that it was statement after statement that was incorrect.
Right. Okay. Please tell me, is the place on lease contract, or did Elizabeth Johnson, Ross Johnson, buy the property, the land?
Yes. So it's actually the NGO itself. We have about 50 kids that are in the NGO. And that's Sovan Kumar LLC. Totally separate from that is a land holding company called Golden Children of the River. And Sovan Kumar LLC leases the land from Golden Children of the River. Golden Children of the River was set up with the Johnson family funds.
I see. The owner of the Golden River?
So it's controlled by the Johnson family. There is one lawyer who holds some shares as a nominee, and there is and the former director has a very small amount in that company.
Okay.
But he signed a nominee agreement that said that he could be removed at any time with no compensation. So he was he is not the owner of the land, and we keep making that clear to everyone. But there is one general who has been very much involved on the other side of this.
I see.
And the Mosavi
Can you name the
officials have
general?
made it very clear. They have, Mosavi officials in our meetings on the committee made it clear that General Heng Bun-hieng is
the commander of the Prime Minister's bodyguard unit.
Yes, so they have made it clear that he has been trying to resolve the issues. We don't understand why the general is involved, but his name has come
up. Okay. Now, you said the land was leased to the Johnson Family Foundation for that purpose. For how long, 25 years, 30 years, 50 years?
I don't have the exact years in front of me.
I see. Okay.
But I think, yes, it would be for a substantial amount of time.
Right. I went through some documents I had with me right now, the letter you wrote to the Prime Minister and the letter from the Johnson Family Foundation. The same ministry official seems to suggest that Sawankoma LLC did not have any problem before you terminated Mr. Setiarun and other staff members from their jobs. Do you think the official implies that you are an obstacle to an attempt to transform SK LLC into a local NGO with full local control? Do you see that?
I think what you're hearing is a narrative that's been set by the former director. He's been trying to make this look like a personal dispute between myself and him. This is not a personal dispute. I went to Harvard Law School. I'm a licensed lawyer in New York. I'm the legal representative for the Johnson family, and we have a large team of Cambodian lawyers working with us who have been handling all the court cases. I think that when we went in to see, what I have to just keep reminding myself and our whole team is just so incredibly moved by the horrific child abuse we discovered that went on under the former executive director. We're talking child rape cases. We have 2 child rape cases that are in the courts right now. We have, two parents or foster, let's say caretakers. 2 caretakers who were there poured boiling water on kids. They beat one kid savagely with a belt, whipped him. In Cambodia, there is, in many countries in the world, I think all over the world, there's very serious issues about child abuse. The statistics here are maybe 5 in 100 kids before they're age 18 face sexual abuse. Child abuse. So what we think is really important is to raise this issue. I talked to the kids. I heard from them directly what happened. We have witnesses. We have a doctor. We have many other adults who witnessed what happened, and it's just horrific. And I think many people in the Cambodian government have been helping us. Many senior people don't like this story. They're very, very unhappy about it, and they have stepped in to see what they can do to help, because it's extremely very difficult topic, but I think it's an important one for the whole nation to, for all of us to think about. I just don't want this to happen again, and the Johnson family doesn't want this to happen again.
Yes, I can see that that you did all the best you can, to make sure that everything is run smoothly according to the donor's wish. In your January 17 letter to Prime Minister Hun Sen, you noted that you learned after the fact that Mosavi held a meeting on Christmas Day last year, 2020, and recommended to shut down, and you just mentioned earlier, Sawankoma Center, fired the current management at the center and replaced them with another NGO. Why do you think the ministry would want to do that at first? What was the reason?
We've heard from a number of people that the former executive director has been lobbying very hard Mosavi officials. So I think he does not want to go to jail, and he has, what we've heard from many people, that he's promised the land to certain officials, or compensation connected to the land. So they have reversed their position today. I'm very happy to say that we had a meeting with them, and they have indicated they're renewing the MOU. They've indicated the committee has been dissolved, so the committee has been closed down, and they have indicated that we had a request for a small number of kids to be transferred because we had some issues with them making death threats against some of the witnesses and other kids, and to transfer them to another good NGO, but not to have them in the same space. It looks like we're going to get that permission. So I think because we raised awareness so much, the ministry has changed their position today.
Okay, you mentioned that the solution appears to be in sight. But you wrote to Prime Minister Hun Sen hoping he can help solve the problem. Do you think that your letter reached the Prime Minister? That's the reason why the officials at the Ministry of Social Affairs asked you to have a meeting and try to resolve this peacefully?
I would think because so many senior people are aware of what's happened, I would think that he is aware of it, but I'm not sure. We haven't received a response yet. But right. I think it got to a point that we needed senior people to step in because of the behavior that we saw.
Okay. Well, another hypothetical question. If the Prime Minister says he cannot help, just let the court rule on the case, how far are you willing to go to get justice for the children and the donor?
We're committed to get justice. We all believe, our team and the Johnson family believes that the horrific things we discovered that happened, there needs to be justice. I would say, the courts today, the prosecutors have all agreed with the charges. On the abuse, investigating judge found that the crimes have been committed. I would like to say that we've committed ourselves to not paying any corruption on these cases. So it's taken a lot of effort, but we have an excellent Cambodian legal team, and we presented evidence. It's now the abuse case is before 3 trial judges. They're expected to make their decision February 10th. We just hope they make the right decision in this case.
Okay. According to a report in the South China Morning Post, published the story about the center, the issue, the problems at the center, saying that Satir Arun embezzled or mismanaged a fund of up to $1.4 million. Is that true?
Yeah, so we have forensic accountants, the professional team we brought in. They have looked through the documents, and they have come up with a figure of 1.4 million. We've submitted that to the court. We do believe it is much higher. We are looking at a number of other financial transactions to understand what happened. But we have all kinds of evidence. I shared with you, I sent earlier some. We just found, for example, multiple receipts from different businesses, all blank in the accountant's office.
I see.
And we have evidence of loans that the former director made to family members without approval. He built this very large villa down the street. And we have witness accounts of questionable activities with that villa, which included a $22,000 swimming pool.
Okay, what are you going to do with the fund that's lost or stolen or misused, misappropriated?
So, we don't, the Johnson family is not looking for those funds back for themselves. What we really want to see is funds for children in Cambodia, and especially the Sovan Kamar kids. Elizabeth committed those funds for those kids. In the last 18 months, we've done all kinds of positive activities with the kids. We've got them going on trips, getting dance lessons and yoga and so on, and getting lots of tutoring, and we've put in place a very comprehensive counseling program. We have very professional counselors on our staff now, and there's been tremendous resources put into this now that once the Johnson family was aware of just how horrific the situation was, they have devoted immense resources to trying to see what they can do to help these kids.
Okay, so the goal here, if I'm not mistaken, is that the Johnson Family Foundation and you yourself are trying to do here is that to get the organization renew or get the proper license or permission to supervise or to manage the center yourself, and also stop those harassments from different angles. Is that what you're trying to accomplish here?
Yes. We just I'm very happy by the meeting we had today with Mosavi. Okay. Let's see what happens next week. But I think with the courts, this has taken a tremendous amount of work, and I just hope the judges, are impartial and behave properly. We've had quite a few experiences that have been very difficult with the courts, but we have also seen quite a few members of the court doing the right thing.
Okay, let's keep the fingers crossed that justice will eventually prevail at the end. My last question, Attorney Gordon. I find a 2009 Wall Street Journal article talking about the late philanthropist, Miss Elizabeth Ross Johnson of the Johnson & Johnson Family Foundation, who wished to help the orphans and orphaned children in Cambodia and said, and I quote, we are not going to change the destiny of Cambodia, but in our own little way, I think it will have a wonderful ripple effect. After more than 18 years of helping the children in Cambodia, are you disappointed by this whole affair?
Look, to me, it's an extremely sad case to see the behavior of the former management. I think Elizabeth had really incredible hopes for these kids. And, I know all the kids, have talked to them, and, I know that quite a few of them are going to really have an incredible positive impact, I think, on Cambodia in the long term. But I think that, it is a very difficult story to deal with. And, myself, I've been subjected to, lawsuits against me by the former director for armed robbery that had been thrown out by the court. Now by
armed robbery?
Yes. he's
you own gun in Cambodia?
No.
Okay.
So I our whole team has taken incredible risks to their personal safety, and the people who have been, the small number of bad actors who are involved are not easy for the rest of society to deal with. So this has been very, very challenging case. And by raising awareness, I think we've gotten tremendous support from the Cambodian people, and we've tried to respect Cambodians. I've been working with Cambodians going back 30 years, and I dearly love the country, and I know that things will improve in the future.
Yeah, let's hope so. I thank you very much for your time, Attorney Bradley James Gordon, for sharing your story and also spending your time with us on our program, and let our audience know what is going on, what is happening in Cambodia right now for this whole issue. I read some background of the late Miss Elizabeth Ross Johnson. She loved the kids. She wanted to, let the kids, help the kids to have good future, including, like creating some scholarships for these kids. So anything that happened, positive or negative, in the near future, would you be able to come back to let us know? We'll be happy to talk with you again.
Sure. I mean, I
All
would
right.
just add that,
Sure.
the Johnson family have set up a scholarship program, and we have our first recipients. And, we hope, this is funding them for education after high school. And I think, I hope in the future we're going to see, a whole number of Elizabeth Johnson scholars who really do a positive contribution for the country.
Okay. Thank you again for making the time for us to be on our program today, Attorney Bradley Gordon. I hope you stay safe.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night now.